Welcome to the Unblocked Podcast Network. And now this is a new show. It is a baseball show. I've gotten sick of talking about football, so I brought on some great baseball guys. We've got Jeff Southall in the bottom right, and better known as Rooster. We've got John Lieber up here with me, and we've got Bret Simmermacher below me. Remember to like, follow, subscribe to the Unblocked Podcast Network on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Tonight's episode is brought to you by OsteoStrong Hillcrest. Bone health is the best health as we age. I'm going to turn it over to Bret because I'm more of a football guy. So give me some baseball and more baseball and more baseball.
All right. Well, thank you, Brian. Well, welcome, John. Thanks for coming today. And Rooster, we appreciate you coming. I know you guys got busy schedules, and anytime we can talk about baseball, I think it's great because all three of us, Rooster, you played at LSU and then West Florida. John, you played at what JUCO was it?
Iowa Western.
Iowa Western, and
then
South Alabama. And then I played at South Alabama and then transferred over to West Florida, and that's how Rooster and we were roommates. We got plenty of stories from that. But anyway, let's talk baseball. Let's start with the American League and Texas versus Houston, and just my thoughts on it. I'll give my thoughts, and then you guys can chime in where you want. But, I think Texas and Houston, Texas is playing with so much confidence right now. And that's part of the game, any sport, I think, and at any level. If you play with confidence, you have an edge over your opponent. And I think that's where Texas is right now. And to be quite honest with you, I think that's where Philadelphia is in the National League side. Their guys are seeing the ball well at the plate, and their guys are pitching it and playing defense like you need to play it. But John's going to talk about this a little bit later. Just because they're up 2-0 doesn't mean that the series is over. There's plenty of baseball to play yet. So what are your thoughts on that, John?
Well, I think you're right about the confidence. We can't forget about the managers on both ends. I've been around Rob Thompson when I was over with the Yankees, and then Bruce Bochy, obviously, what he's done in San Diego those years and then San Francisco. A lot of people don't see what goes on behind the scenes, obviously, and those two guys have done a heck of a job, and especially Rob, the situation he was in last year. And I'm good friends with Joe Girardi. I've known him for 20 years, and, Joe definitely knows the game. He knows how to control a clubhouse and knows what he's talking about. But, obviously some things have changed over the years here, and it's about adapting, and I don't know exactly what happened, but obviously those two guys have adapted, and know how to bring the guys together, know when to play at the highest level at the right time. So my hat's off to those guys because it's not easy to do that and the pressure that comes with it.
Would you say, John, that most of your successful coaches in all sports, really, those guys that are able to adapt with the changes that are taking place in their sport are the ones that usually are the most successful in that sport?
I think, yeah, I believe that. And it's not just, the adapting to, the changes in the game, but, obviously being a good communicator with your players. Probably the best one I've ever been around was Charlie Manuel. My last few years in Philadelphia, and Charlie was just very good, going around talking to the guys before the game and after the game, even if you had a bad game. I've been around managers that wouldn't speak to you if you had a bad game. So, we're all grown men in there and you know how to handle it, but there's something to say about a guy that cares about not what's going on the field, good or bad, but obviously what's going on at home. I think we lose concept of, these athletes are, human beings, they have problems just like all of us do. And if you can nip those things in the bud, whatever's going on bad at home, it obviously makes out for a pretty good ball player, out there on the field. So, but it's I think they've done a heck of a job, all around.
Rooster, what are your thoughts?
I think you guys have hit all the high spots. Managers are a big deal. Uh, you know, players play, and the managers got to keep that calm force, whether it's at the collegiate level, the high school level, or the big league level. Um, and I think both these guys have proven they've done a great job. The fans are absolutely electric in Philly. They're front runners. Let's be honest; they weren't always that way, right? Uh, but
They're drunk, Rooster. They're going to be
yeah,
drunk with the
God bless
success
America.
between that and
But
the Eagles.
I will say that the Rangers, for example, they're just pros. I was in Arlington this year, watched them play a couple times, and the Corey Seager and Simeon in the middle, they're really strong up the middle, and they can hit one 600 feet or swing over a ball 6 feet, and strike out, and they react the same. Like they're just a consummate pro, handle their business, and that leadership in the middle of the field and the top of the order, I think this kind of sets the tone for the Rangers. And they've had their battles. Their bullpen struggled a bit, and then they found their way. But and we don't know what we're going to get tonight with Scherzer coming back. But on paper, he's somebody I wouldn't want to fool with.
Yeah, he's a proven winner.
I'd rather see somebody else out there, because if he has his stuff, as you guys know, he's a Hall of Fame guy.
You think he's going to be amped tonight? There's no doubt.
His first pitch may end up 12 rows up.
He's got his eyes are crazier than mine with my retina detaching. So
yeah, but he's really good, and if he's on, he's more than a handful. But the truth is, it's a 12U team could beat either one of them tonight if the ball hops the right way. It's baseball. There's no guarantees for sure. We talked last time about the three teams that won 100 games are no longer in it. They went 1-9 in the playoffs, and we could debate all day. But ultimately, in October, some guy that's unknown is going to become a household name. It's been going on since 1872, right? Since they started this game. And I'm excited. For me, I want extra innings and seven games in every series, because I hate to see the season end. Because when it ends in November, we set back the clocks, and it gets dark. It starts to get cold, and no baseball. That's like the trifecta from hell for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
How about the National League? The National League series? How well are the Phillies hitters seeing the baseball right now? I mean, and it's not the same guys now. Now you got what's his name, hit 2 home runs last night. Yeah, Schwarber.
Schwarber. They call them Schwarber now.
I told some guys today, let's hope that in 6 weeks they don't come out and say the Phillies were doing something, right? They got a trash can or whatever the hell. They're really good, and they're locked in. They were good last year. And, if you follow baseball like we all do, I'm not surprised. I mean, these guys, they can hit. And they actually have 2 big league aces, and Nola and Wheeler, and on any given night, those guys are a handful. And with those bats and that, if you hit them where they're not allowed to play defense, that's hard to overcome that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And at any level, really, when teams are playing with a lot of confidence, like we touched on earlier, I've coached at the high school and the college level. My first team I had in Shelby, Ohio, we went to the state Final Four after we had to get rid of 2 of our top players for discipline reasons. Middle of the season, we still made it to the top 4 because we had guys that played with confidence, and we beat a guy named Crowder in the regional semifinals that ended up going to Georgia Tech and got drafted. But we probably weren't the best team. But that's when you talk about the 100-win teams. How much of an effect does the time off affect them, John, at that level?
Oh, I mean, it's a huge difference, especially if you're playing hot.
I agree.
You want to continue playing.
Sure.
And, with them adding extra wild card games, and the best out of 3 now instead of just win or go home, and
Yeah.
it's a big difference. I mean, but at the end of the day, you know what's at stake, and you know what you got to do to go out there and win a ball game.
You still got to tee it up and play.
Yeah, everything's got to still come together. But it is. I think like you guys agreed, it's a big difference.
Hitting is all timing, and pitching essentially is throw the timing off. And when you consider at 85 miles an hour, mathematically, you have 2/5 of a second. At 95, it obviously decreases greatly. And then you get that kind of timing down as a hitter, and then you take a week off. Well, a week or a month, what's the difference? They don't need rest. This is not like football. It's a skill. And it's a really precise skill at that level. There's 650 hitters in the world playing at the big league level over a population of 7 billion. Like, these guys are pretty good. And you mess with that kind of timing to hit the velocities they're hitting today, it has a really adverse effect, in my opinion. And I'm sure within the next 10 to 12 years, Major League Baseball will address it. They never seem to get in a hurry for anything.
I think the biggest positive out of the break would be for the pitchers. I've always believed that. Because you can have a bullpen that's getting pretty beat up, down the stretch, and they need 3 or 4 days. But that would be the only thing I could see that for. So.
Well, and for the hitter's sake, it's hard to. I mean, it's hard to simulate in practice.
Absolutely, yeah.
What they're going to see in a game, because
what transpires in baseball every year, because I'm locked in every day. Well, you get a guy like a Bret Jon that goes up and fouls off 10 or 12 balls. He stole an inning from your bullpen.
Yep.
And over the course of a series, that's going to pay huge dividends, for that 3 or 4 game set. And when that happens, now all of a sudden those relievers are at the end of the season, they've thrown 58, 60 innings as opposed to 48, 50 innings. And so time off for those pitchers is a big deal, and the frequency of use, all those things, and mathematically, it adds up. And, John, you lived it and died it. It's tough. That's really a precise game, and I don't know if baseball really is a sport. It's a skill set to me, kind of like golf, because trying harder doesn't really pay you, give you good dividends. I try to tell guys all the time, if you're 6 for 6, you better know you're not that good. And if you're 0 for 6, you're not that bad. You just keep playing this game, and over the long haul, like water, it'll find the low spots, and you keep grinding. Baseball is a grinding game. It's tough.
Well, let me tell you, the only time I never wanted the hitters to hit was during batting practice. I wanted a few breaks during the week.
Yeah.
They wanted to hit every day, and I don't know. I think sometimes you can overdo it, if that makes sense. And it's like, you guys need a couple days off from hitting.
And
if you're going good, you don't want to stop. If you're going bad, I recommend fishing.
You might want to take a couple. You might want to take a couple days to go fishing if you're going bad.
Said if you want to make people happy, sell ice cream. But I've got a question for all of you guys, because you all accomplish so much, and I appreciate you guys coming on and helping out a new network that you knew nothing about, just being great friends to me. Jake Butt, who is actually going to be on our podcast tomorrow on the football, and he's going to be previewing Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State. He asked an interesting question this week, and I'm going to start with you, John. And what's your favorite sports memory, and what made this memory your favorite one? And then I'm going to go to Bret and then Rooster.
My favorite sports memory was probably put them together, but probably getting them letting me know that I was getting the call to the big leagues, and going to call my mom, and talk to her, and just excitement in her voice, and and then having my whole family there in Philadelphia. It was actually in Philadelphia on Mother's Day in '94. 55,000. I had my whole family there, my brothers, their fiancés, their wives, and Wilmington. I was there in '93, the year before, with the A-ball team. And a lot of people from there came up, but I mean, what what an unbelievable experience to go through that. And I wish everybody could do that. Because it's just you get to that point, you just never think what's going to happen, or you know will it happen or won't it? I don't know, but it's just something I'll never forget. A lot of people think the 20-win season was probably the top of my list, but I think just getting the call to go to the big leagues was awesome.
Because you realize how hard it is to get there and how many people don't get there once you get to that level of the minor leagues. Is that correct? Or
yeah, exactly right. It's there was so much better talent ahead of me that never made it. And that's why I want kids to know that it doesn't rely on just talent, or you got to have an idea of what's going on, the failures with this game. Are you able to overcome them? Are you able to handle them? I've seen guys I played with that never failed in the game, and then when they failed in A ball or double A, man, they didn't know how to overcome that. And coaches aren't going to be there to kind of help you out. They're just there to guide you and try to correct you and mechanically or whatever. And it can just become a head case if you know what I mean. So, it's it was just a privilege and an honor to be able to make it that far and be able to play that long. And
John,
yeah.
John, to your credit, there's only been just over 19,000 ever have played at the major league level.
That's unbelievable.
When you think about the number of years, what an incredible feat. And then to stay there past the average time. It's just, we're talking about elite players. And I've said this 1,000 times. It's probably a third of the guys that are in the big leagues that aren't as talented as other guys, but they know how to be big leaguers.
That's it. I think you're right. Absolutely right.
It's very, very tough.
Brett, what do you got? What's your favorite sports memory? I don't care what sport it is. I mean, I know you guys all accomplished a lot in baseball, but I also know you were a good athlete at Crestline High School, and you played up multiple sports.
Well, mine was also baseball related, and since I have somebody on here that can vouch for my story, and that's Rooster. My senior year at University of West Florida, we started the season with probably Rooster, 35 dudes?
Yeah.
And then by the time break came around with grades and attitudes and everything else, we came back from spring break, we had 20 guys somewhere in that vicinity, maybe a little bit less, right?
Yeah, we had less.
Okay, so we go down south. Coach Spooner used to take us down south to the Orlando area, and we'd play some D2 schools down there, and the Florida Southerns and the St. Leos and teams like that. So we go down there, and our starting catcher was Keith Leonard, which transferred in from Auburn. I had transferred in from South Alabama. Rooster transferred in from LSU. Keith Leonard's up to bat toward one of the last games, and he breaks his hand. He gets hit by a pitch and breaks his hand. We don't have a backup catcher. So who goes in to catch? Daddy Roo. Rooster caught, and if he can remember, we were playing Tennessee Tech at home, and it was his turn to be in the rotation because he was one of our starting pitchers. And Coach Spooner had us at the end of the game, and he said, "Hey, Rooster's got a pitch tomorrow. Is there anybody here that can catch?" I look around, nobody raised their hand. I'm left-handed. I raised my hand. I said, "Coach Spooner, I'm left-handed, but I'd be glad to catch and do whatever I have to do," because I was a pitcher as well. And I said, "But I'd be glad to pitch or catch if you need somebody to catch." He said, "If I get you a left-handed catcher's glove, will you catch?" And I said, "Sure." And so 15 minutes before the game, Donnie Benefield was pitching. I warmed him up in the bullpen, and he pitched a no-hitter against Tennessee Tech. I catched the rest of the year. We figured out a way to tape a glove on Lenny's hand. He started pitching where I didn't have to come in. I mean, he was right-handed, I was left-handed. But that's just how my senior year went. But Coach Spooner had talked to me in the office. He said, "Simmy, he knew a lot of people. His dad was the grounds, not the field maintenance guy down at Kansas City Royals Complex in Fort Myers, Florida." He said, "Simmy, if you do this, I'll do my best to get you a chance at the professional level." And that's where Rooster comes in again. He and I are working for the school. demolishing bathrooms in the dorms. You remember?
Oh yeah.
We were in there just beating the snot out of this one bathroom. We come out, we got those masks on, and we're just filthy with dust and everything. And Spooner's like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" And we're working, coach. He said, "Hey, you want to sign a pro contract?" And I said, "Oh, go on, coach. Stop playing around." He goes, "I'm serious." He had, what was Mac's first name? Coach McKenzie.
Scott.
Scott McKenzie. They're like, "We're not kidding. The Seattle Mariners want to give you a shot." So me and Rooster got cleaned up, and we went over there in the office, and he had some champagne. That was probably my best memory in sports.
Great memories, man.
Rooster was right there for it, right? You gonna vouch for that, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Stories are all true.
Rooster,
Yeah,
unless you're driving a BMW off a lot of BMW of Baton Rouge, we need your story too.
Well, real quick, what I'll tell you is, as a player, nobody enjoyed college ball more than I did. I absolutely gobbled up college as like a lion, right? And I thought that was the greatest. And I got into coaching, and I'm like, wow, you really have a say so in some of the outcome and the preparation. And some of these coaches, you could do some things and trick them a little bit, sneak a win out of there. And I thought that was the coolest until my boys started playing. And then when you can sit back and watch them accomplish, real stuff, and they both were real good players, played all the way through college, drafted, all that stuff. Really, really is cool. And now, tell you how old I am, I've got a grandson, and he's a good athlete, and he's living in the Dallas area. And he calls me the other day, you guys will love this, and says, FaceTime, because we have that now. And he says, "Rooster, I scored all 7 goals for my team today in soccer." And I said, "Big guy, that's awesome." I had a good hoot. And of course, I had to tweet it out that maybe his passing skills hasn't quite developed yet. But so it's kind of full circle, going from playing to coaching and watching your kids play and now grandkids. And it's all just been a wonderful blessing, to be honest with you. And I'm still hooked. The old saying, you spend a lifetime trying to grip the ball, and at some point you realize in your life that it's the other way around. Baseball's got a grip on you.
That's right.
Well, no, hold on a second. Your grandson calls you Rooster.
Yes, and he calls my wife Linda. I refuse to be. I got a nickname, right? I need to be Paw or Grandpa or some other nonsense. Like Rooster's enough. It's hard enough for me to keep up with myself.
Well, from now on, if your grandson calls you Rooster, you're Rooster to me. I will never go back to Jeff again.
That's right.
Wow.
Brett, what else do we got?
Well, let's move into the next segment. You got 2 teams that are up 2-0 in the series, in the American and National League. John, you've been in that situation before. Might even been 3-0.
It was.
I'm going to predict. I'm just going to predict that Texas, going back home, is probably going to win the next 2 and move on to the World Series. Philly's got to go on the road. Some things could happen in Arizona. You never know, and but I think it's going to end up being Philly and Texas in the World Series. But let's hear your thoughts about you've been in that situation.
Yeah, and obviously my predictions are out the window. I predict
mine too.
It'll be Baltimore and Atlanta, but that's gone. But I think I'm.
Tell us about when you were in that situation too, John.
Oh, okay. So I predict, though, like you said, Brett, I think it's going to be Texas and Philly. But we were in the same situation in 2004 playing Boston. And the year before I was rehabbed in New York, hit that home run off of Wakefield to go to the World Series. And
right.
And so, we go up, this is the first time I've been to the playoffs. Never been to the playoffs before. So we get to the playoffs and I'm thinking, man, I'm pitching game 2 against Pedro and, we won game 1 against Schilling. Messina threw a great game and I beat Pedro, which, is hard to do alone.
Yeah.
and we're up two games to none. And, then we had the blowout in Boston. We beat them like 18-7 or something like that, or 18-9.
And everybody thinks it's over at that point.
Oh, man, yeah. And in fact,
actual movie about it.
The players even thought it was over for Boston. They were coming up congratulating us the next day. Basically saying, "Hey, good luck to you guys. Wish you guys." They know it's over. I think we all did, but I'll never forget this. We win that third game. We're going back to the hotel, and Gary Tuck, who was our bullpen catcher's coach for the Yankees, I don't know, somehow me and a couple other players, and he was in there, and we were talking about it, and he's sitting in the back, and he goes, this isn't over yet. He goes, we don't need this to go back to New York. And we're like, what? This is crazy. What are you talking about? This is, we're looking good. And man, he wasn't kidding. It took a little spark, in game 4 for them, David Ortiz in game 4 and 5. And next thing you know, we just didn't have the pitching, down the stretch. You would think with a Javier Vasquez or Kevin Brown to pitch game 7, fully rusted, but those guys, they struggled that year. They didn't have the normal years that they used to have, and man, we just got hammered. So, it sucked to be on that end of the spectrum, but it was kind of neat to be a part of history. If that kind of sounds,
it makes sense.
A little weird, but just to be involved in all the way it happened. Like I go back to my game against. I had Kurt Schilling in game 6, the bloody sock game, and everybody knew it, and he had the surgery on his ankle, and would you believe it or not, we did not one time in that game. Why would you, make him,
move around,
come off the mound there and work him a little bit? Not saying you got to do it quite a bit, but maybe at least 2 or 3 times, try to get something, we're obviously not getting on base. Try and make something happen, but never bunted in that game. You tip your cap to him, but that was a hell of a series. So, I think Arizona's maybe a different place. You get Philadelphia out of that environment. If Arizona wins 3 games in a row, which is possible, I think they're better than what they've shown here the last 2 games. They kind of got beat up a little bit, but you go to Arizona and let's say they take 2 out of 3 or all 3, that changes everything going back to Philly. That puts more pressure on them. And, they might try to, they're just so relaxed right now. It's crazy. It's just like throwing a beach ball up there and, somebody's going to get hits, and the pitching's been phenomenal. But, and I like the way Texas is playing. I like, those are close games. Houston, could give them a little run here. I could see that going 7 games or something, but I like Texas in the long run. But overall, I think Texas beats Philly in the World Series. So.
Rooster?
I don't know if I want to make a prediction yet on who's going to win the World Series, but I will say that I do think Philly will win. I don't think it'll be a quick 4. Arizona's really good. And Houston, there's 7 straight years in the ALCS, so they're legit, and they're seasoned veterans. And my coaching experience says having experience is a big advantage. So they're not shaken. Like I said, I got Bregman a place to go eat good barbecue last night, and he's with his wife and kids on a stroller, and I sent him to an area of town they don't even know who he is. He just was able to go eat, but instead of trying to take BP in his hotel room, he's going out to dinner. He's relaxed, ready to play baseball because he's been here. And the truth is, Alex, he's an old LSU guy, but he hasn't been in the big leagues if they haven't been in the championship series. So, this is it's an expectation in Houston. That's a big deal. So they're not going to go away quietly. Dusty's been there before, and let's be honest, Tucker, Altuve. There's some salty veterans in that group. They can play baseball. They're good. And, ball falls here or there. And, Texas has played very well, and they're very good. They've been very good all year. But I do think Texas will win that series. I think Philly will win. I don't think it'll be sweeps. And I'm going to hold off on the World Series and see how much these championship series take a toll on each team that actually wins it. Pitching staff mainly.
Well, let's not forget about Houston's manager either.
Yeah.
Dusty knows what
Dusty.
He's been around the block a few times himself. So
yeah, he's seen a few games.
Yeah, he's seen several.
He's been in some big games, that's for sure.
Yeah, they were talking about him the other night, and they said 1981. Hell, that's the year I graduated from high school.
Yeah,
There's
that's the year Moby Dick was a minnow.
Nothing beats experience. Bret, I'm sorry I asked you to write a script. I had another question.
Okay.
You guys all have accomplished so much, and your love for baseball is obvious. Who honestly was responsible, Jon, Bret, and Rooster, for that baseball love? And when did you know I'm going to push everything I can towards baseball?
I'll take that one if I can go
as a youth.
If I can go first.
Go ahead, Rooster.
And it comes from my dad, who's even into his 50s and early 60s, still playing fast pitch softball, right? But he was always baseball as I was really young. But I'll tell you this, like I had some offers to play college basketball. I'm 6'3", as a point guard, and no real school. Let's be honest, these small schools, and I thought it was cool. And at that time, they wasn't, they didn't recruit starting very early. And he told me, he says, listen, just be patient. Let baseball get here. And, I'm a kid, so I'm thinking like a kid and thinking basketball. They travel a lot. It'd be a lot of fun. He said, just wait on baseball season to come around. He goes, yeah, if I'm being honest, 6'3" white point guards are a dime a dozen. He goes, you may have a future in baseball because size really doesn't matter. And so really from that's in my senior year of high school basketball, which ends in probably middle or late February in the playoffs. But then I began the first day, went on to the high school field for baseball. And I thought, man, how cool is this? I'm out here in the dirt. I can spit, I'm sweating. It's a different kind of sweat. I'm using muscles that I was in terrific shape from basketball, but not bending over all the time, taking ground balls and pitching and hitting. And, it's a totally different being in shape. And absolutely just began to lock in on how much I enjoy the outdoors, and baseball does that for me. And it's the camaraderie of baseball. It's a slower game, not the fast pace. And until you know the game of baseball and what's really going on in every situation, like, wow, it never, it's the most mentally intriguing thing, you could possibly do.
Yes.
It's a psychological game. I mean,
yes. Yes.
More so than I think any other professional sport.
Augie Garrido and I were good friends, and we used to, stay up late nights talking about how to win, how to motivate kids, and we'd ultimately come back to baseball is the greatest thing on earth that I do, and also the most miserable thing that I do, because the game just doesn't reward you for effort. You can do it all wrong and win, and you can do it all right and lose. Like Jon and them had that experience. They were way ahead, 3-0. Like that series is over by all rights. Not so fast. It's baseball. Anything can happen.
They call it the baseball gods. Is that not correct?
Yeah,
that's the term, the baseball gods.
There was a lot of gods in Boston that night. But
Jon, you want to go next?
Yeah, I think a lot of it for me was, obviously when I was little, it was just something about a glove and a ball and a bat, and I just enjoyed playing the game. Didn't pay much attention on how the game was played. I just wanted to hit and throw, and so I did all that, and walked on to my junior college. Did okay in high school, but had no idea how to pitch or anything. I mean, threw hard, but and hard back then was like 86 miles an hour, 87. You were extremely hard if you hit 90.
Yeah.
But walked on to my junior college just because, all because my mom talked me into it. She said, "Why don't you try for?" I wasn't even going to play baseball. My career was over. I probably on to softball after that, and so I did, and to my surprise, made the team. Obviously, much different level than high school. Fine tune my skills a little bit. That's where you started, especially in Iowa. You worked out year round in college. I've never done that before. So, started sending out letters to other schools. That's when South Alabama came up and, saw me pitch in a summer league game. It was late July.
Who was your recruiter for South?
Ronnie Powell made that trip. Yeah, CP. He came up there. And I'll never forget, he about froze his tail off. It was an unusually cool summer night. I think it was like 62 degrees or something. And, CP's over there, and his nose is all red and blowing. Yeah. But obviously he saw something that he liked. And like I said, it was unusually late for them to recruit a player or a player that he liked to be available. But I ended up signing with South, and I felt like that's where my career really took off. I started to understand the game, the situations as a pitcher, what you put in. I learned more about the game, I think, down here at the University of South Alabama than I have anywhere else. And I think that helped me on to the next level after I got drafted. And, I really put all the credit to my mom. If it wasn't for my mom to really talk me into playing, I wouldn't be here right now. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
So, you wouldn't have a clubhouse named after you as well.
I would none of that stuff.
I drove by that last night going to the Jaguar game. I'm gonna snap a picture, but somebody was honking at me behind me, so I didn't get it. I'll get it next time.
Guys, I don't want to interrupt. I really have to get.
No problem, Rooster.
Get moving here, but
we'll do this again early next week.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Rooster, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, sir, John. We'll do it again.
Yeah, I'll finish this off, and then we'll mosey on down the road, and then we'll talk your prediction.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
All right, man. Thanks for coming, Roo.
Yeah, man.
As far as me, I was a 3-sport athlete in Crestline, Ohio. I loved all 3 sports. My dad was a basketball guy. He played at Ohio State with John Havlicek, Jerry Lucas. My dad was 6'1". I'm 5'9", 5'8". But I loved basketball. I wanted to go to college and play basketball. When I honed in on baseball was when my brother came home from Murray State University, and he talked about you need to focus more on baseball because there's not too many 5'8", 5'9" white point guards in the NBA, because he knew that our ultimate goal was to sign a professional contract of some kind. So, we were just sports fanatics. And that's when I started honing in on my senior year of high school after my brother came back from college. But my dad obviously got us into all sports growing up. Heck, he coached our flag football team. He coached our team. They called it midget basketball back then. Heck, you can't use those names nowadays, so you get taken to court.
Get canceled.
Our flag football team was called the Black Knights, and we had several African American kids on our team. Can you imagine that in today's society? It would have never happened.
Wow.
Anyway, that's how I got involved in baseball. And then I just honed in on it my senior year and was fortunate enough to go to South Alabama.
Bret, I want you to tell me that story of when you actually drove for South Alabama to. Are you willing to share that?
I'm willing to share that story.
We've got a lot of Mobile, Alabama viewers, and we've got a lot of Crestline, Ohio viewers. So, John, I'm coming to a story for you, but you're going to have to help me a little bit with it.
All
It's
right.
All
a,
right.
it's a CP. It's a CP story for you, John.
What
Go ahead, Brett.
my freshman year, we were going to LSU to play LSU. We're on the bus. We had a big burly African American. Charlie was the bus driver.
Oh yeah, Charlie.
You remember Charlie?
Oh
And
yeah.
we get on the bus. We're driving, and we get to Slidell, and the bus breaks down. Well, we were able to pull into a mall. They had a Sears and Roebuck out front. Bottom line is, the game is at 7 o'clock that night. We're at the mall at like 1 or so in the afternoon by that time.
Is Coach Gittrell the coach?
No, Coach Stanky was the coach, but he never rode the bus because he had the pacemaker. He would always fly to the games. Crawford and Patterson were on the bus. So Crawford tells us, go into the mall, get your lunch, eat lunch in the mall, because they had a food court and all that kind of stuff. So we go in, and he said, meet back here at this fountain at such and such a time. So I was always one that never wanted to be late, so I'm early. And there was 4 or 5 of us standing around there. And here comes Crawford. He goes, you, and you, come with me. I just turned 18 years old, not that long ago. And so he takes us, he puts us in a car that he had went to Baton Rouge and picked up and came back, took us all the way to Baton Rouge to the rental place. He says, Simmermacher, you and Parvin, you're going to drive the first 2 station wagons, and you're going to go back and pick up the starters. When you pick up the starters, you come back, take them to the hotel, and then you're going to go straight to the field with the starters for tonight's game, and then we'll worry about getting the rest of them over here. Okay, Coach, we'll get on it. And before we leave, he says, you better not get caught speeding either. So anyway, Parvin, he's a senior. I'm a freshman. And first of all, at the rental car place, the guy's like, this kid's 18 years old. He's not even allowed. Crawford goes, hey, I'll vouch for him. I've known this kid for years. Blah, blah, blah. He just met me. I was a walk-on. He just met me back in the fall. Anyway, so we go. We're flying back there. We're no lie. I'm not going to lie. We were doing 100, 110 in the cars on I-10 across there from Baton Rouge to Slidell, which is what, maybe 45 minutes. I swear it took us 30 minutes to get there. So we get in there, and I pick up a few guys. Parv gets a few guys. Parv's leading the way. We're not 2 X's from where we're supposed to turn off, and here comes a state highway patrolman across the berm in the median, goes sideways, and there's 4 or 5 cars behind us. He gets in the passing lane. I slow down. Parv keeps going. He's just going 100. The guy catches up with him, and he just tells him to slow down, and he pulls all 5 cars over to the side. Joe May was our catcher. He was a senior. He goes, I'll talk to this guy. Another big, burly black guy, right? And May goes up and talks to him. He goes, I got this, guys. Don't worry about it. And all of a sudden, he comes walking back. He goes, I think I got you guys out of it. Well, that's not the case. The guy was a wrestler. He liked wrestling, didn't care for baseball. He wrote us all tickets. So we get to the hotel. Crawford's waiting on us. He goes, oh, you guys can relax. They canceled the game. They canceled the game. Their lights won't work. They're having problems with their lights. So here goes Parv and I. We got to go to his room and tell him that we got speeding tickets. And, of course, we got the 3rd degree because we got speeding tickets. And then he says, just give me the tickets. I'll get them taken care of. So it's May, time to go home from school. I go over to my P.O. box there at the school. I pick it up. I look at it. There's a warrant out for my arrest in Louisiana because he had got the speeding ticket taken care of. So I marched right over to his office. He goes, gosh dang it, give me that thing. I'll call the guy that he's supposed to call. And I've never heard another thing about it, but I could still be wanted in Louisiana. A warrant on me.
John, we're coming up on the end. Can you give us either CP or Coach Kittrell story, or one that you want outside of South Alabama?
Oh no! Oh my gosh! Yeah, no.
There's so many good ones that I've heard with you, Shane Britt, Marty Barnett, and everybody, Mike Fisher.
No, CP. He really, he defined my career. If I could say that. he made me who I was and the type of player I was when I made it to that next level. And it all started, first time I met CP, obviously he came up and recruited me up in Iowa. Nice as can be. I mean, just very polite. Talked to my parents. I really liked CP. And at the time, come down here for a recruiting trip. Love the place. Same thing. Well, we have our first fall practice, and somebody did something, or I don't know exactly what, but just Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, just jumped their ass, and a few words I can't say on here, and I mean, it was like, who the hell is this guy? And I was the type of player that, I just wasn't pitching to my ability, and I'd get the tight butthole or whatever in situations, and mess up, and he'd jump all over my crap, and and he was really relying on me to step into the season as a number two starter for that year. And so, I'd have good games or whatever, bad games. Well, the season starts, man, I start out 0-3. And that third game was against Mississippi State. And I mean, I didn't even last, I only think 2 1/3 innings. And, Ronnie comes out there, and I mean, he's just cussing me out left and right, walking to the mound, and just da 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 da. And I'm walking off. He's right behind me. I can hear every word he's saying. Now, of course, I got my head down, go to the dugout, sit down. He's down at the other end, down there by Coach Kittrell, and he's just still saying stuff about me or whatever. And, I'm sitting on the bench like this, and he walks down. I didn't know it, but man, he just grabbed me by my cheeks, like really hard. And I looked up, and he goes, "What do you feel like doing?" I said, can I cuss on here? Or,
Yeah, you can. It's YouTube.
Okay. No, I mean, I'm going to tell it like it is. He looked at me and he said, "What do you feel like doing?" I told him, I said, "I'm going to kick your fucking ass right here." I stood up, and Ronnie comes up to about right here. I'll never forget it, man. He just looked at me and he goes, "Good. That's what I want to hear. Next time, take it out there." Just walked off. And man, it was just so many emotions going through my mind of just what just happened. And man, I sat down, and I mean, it just changed everything about the way I approached the game, my attitude towards the game. Each time I stepped across the white lines, I was a completely different pitcher. Because I pitched more scared before instead of pitching more aggressively and pitching the contact, and giving the hitters more credit than they deserved instead of giving credit to myself. And it's like, hey man, I belong where I belong. So that happened, and never had a problem with CP after that again. It was just like, it was the weirdest thing, that ever happened in my career. But I truly believe he defined me on who I was as a player going forward and being able to play as long as I did.
I think he made pitchers bulldogs, and you look at what Jason Norton did over his career, and Mike Fisher before injury cut it short. He knew how to get the best out of everybody. And
he did, and
push.
At times, yeah.
But
then when you needed that push.
Yeah, and Ronnie, he was great at that. But I think there was times where he needed to, it goes back to, I've learned over my career, it's not always push. I think the part of being a good communicator, like I said, there's so many things going on at home. Oscar Costa was my pitching coach in Chicago. Hard ass, just like CP was. I mean, just a lot of guys didn't like him. Didn't care for him as a pitching coach. He was very hard on the guys. You guys just weren't used to that. But I'll tell you what, he cared about what happened at home, because guys had families, young kids, whatever. Hey, what's going on? Is everything okay at home? And Ronnie, I don't think he did that sometimes with most of the guys. I think he really tried to attack on getting the best out of you, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And South Alabama was all about when I went there. It wasn't like a Florida State or I don't know, USC, where they could just get the players and just send everybody out. Hey, go play and get us a W.
Yeah.
You know, we're just going to sit back and we're going to watch you guys play. No, they had to teach us what to do there and how to play the game right. And Brad, I'm sure you went through it, you know, with Coach
Yeah.
Stank.
Same thing, John. I learned my baseball at South Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, I had some good high school baseball coaches, but I mean, I say good. They were good motivators. You know, they were good motivators. They didn't know baseball like Stanky and Crawford and Ricky Patterson. But
the best I've ever been around. I mean, I can literally say that. I mean, I've never, you know, it. Who knows what my career would have been if I'd went to, you know, I don't know, Division II school or University of Nebraska. You know, when Coach Sanders was there. I don't think I would have had the same, you know, same career or even possibly get drafted like I did here. So, Ronnie's right. Him and Oscar were right there together as being probably the best I've ever been around, ever. So,
and when we had the show, John, that we did before that I can't find on my computer because I'm not tech savvy, Bret and I and Rooster talked about how we always had to play LSU or FSU, and it was kind of just regionally. That's who we always had to go against at South Alabama, and there were so many opportunities since I've been down here since '95, and you know, it's just kind of like you have bad luck. It's what Rooster was saying. You could be the best ever, but you know, luck and the baseball gods come into play at some point. And we hope Mark Calvey can get over that at South Alabama at some point as 3 South Alabama guys. But we're about to wrap this up. Bret, you got any closing things, or John?
No, I've enjoyed this. You know, Rooster had to get off because, you know, he's in the middle of purchasing a vehicle for his wife.
You better get us a baseball sponsorship for Unblocked Baseball.
I guarantee if anybody can get us a baseball sponsor, it'll be Rooster. But I would love to come back on here with John and Rooster next week and do it again and talk about some other things like the analytical side that it's gone absolutely ballistic in baseball alone. And it's all across every sport really, but we'll hone in on the baseball side of it. And then of course, continue to follow the playoffs and then go from there.
John, go ahead.
No, I think I'll tell you, it's been a treat. I want to thank both you guys and Rooster for having me on here and being a part of this. And now I'm looking forward to doing it again and getting a little bit deeper in some topics.
Yeah, we need to get some of our buddies on here like Lance and some of those other guys that live around the Mobile area, Lance Johnson and
Louie and everybody. So Jason Norton, everybody. So I thank both of you for your friendship over the years. It's meant a lot to me personally and professionally too. Whenever I have a baseball question, all I have to do is pick up the phone and call 2 experts. So, and you know, I appreciate that. And maybe someday Boston will announce a GM and I can talk to you guys about that. So, but appreciate it for Unblocked tonight, Unblocked Podcast Network. This is our first baseball show, but we're going to have another one next week. So tune in, subscribe. I don't even know how to say it all because Keith usually doesn't follow Twitter, Facebook, whatever social media we're likely on. And if you have questions, send them to John, send them to Bret, send them to me or Rooster, and we'll do our best to answer those on the next episode of Unblocked Baseball Podcast. So thank you guys, and good night.
All right.
All right. Thanks, guys.